and welcome to another booktube video from me, Lauren, from Lauren and the No Books, because we are still in decorating limbo, and I thought I'd film a little video as and when I can, because I haven't got my books out at the moment, so sort of like having a little look at what books are on my shelf and thinking up a video from those guys. That's not happening so much at the moment because they're all in my bath. But today is a book haul, so these are the books that I've been sent in the month of September, because we're nearing the end of September now, aren't we? David's birthday next week. So I thought I would take, do you know what? I thought I would show you the video, the books today that I've been sent in the month, or bought, or things. Not that there's been much getting out in September, but I actually don't think I could sit in front of these stark shelves. So I might move you over to my beautifully new decorated lounge wallpaper. I think I will do that, just until the books are back. Live decision making going on. Yeah, let's go over there. Ready? Should we click in? 1, 2, 3. So here we are. It's lovely, isn't it? It's from Eleanor Boehmer. It's not the only wallpaper on the wall in the lounge. I'll show you. We've got this yellow here, but this will be sort of behind the sofa, so where the sofa goes in sort of like the winter months, and we've got it sort of just going around the corner a little bit there as well, so it's very, very nice. But I love it. It's really, really fun and sort of reminds me of like kids TV shows and maybe like Jacqueline Wilson a little bit. I'm very into it, and this is much more pleasant, isn't it, than sitting in front of some naked bookshelves. Right, let me show you the books I've got my mitts on in September, because there are quite a few. Do you know what? Let's start with the ones that have been sent to me off my wish list, which is always such a lovely and delightful surprise to receive books from my wish list. I always link my wish list down below, but never mention it apart from she is mentioning it. But occasionally I'll just get a little book from there, and which is so nice. And the two that I've received this month are doubly especially nice, not only because it's been a sort of month of no books in my house, so to receive these books has been lovely, but also because I'm really, really excited to read them both. So the first one is Indelicacy by Amina Kane. This is a ghostly feminist fable about class, desire, friendship, and the battle to find one's true calling. And this front cover I'm very into. So it says, in an undefined era and place, a cleaning woman at a museum of art aspires to do more than simply dust the paintings around her. She dreams of having the security and time to use her mind and the liberty to be a writer. She escapes her lot by marrying a rich man, but having gained a husband, a house, high society and a maid, finds that her new life of privilege is no less constrained. Not only is she taken up different forms of time-consuming labour, social and erotic, but she is now, however passively, forcing other women to clean up after her. Perhaps a more drastic solution is necessary. It says, reminiscent of a lost Victorian classic in miniature, Indelicacy is at once a ghost story without a ghost, a fable without a moral, and an exploration of the barriers faced by women in both life and literature. It sounds sort of like spooky and atmospheric and everything, and I think it's going to really, really be good for October reading. So thank you so much to the person who sent me this. They've also put in their little note that there's another book on its way to me, so that is lovely. I just thank you so much. It always blows my mind that people are happy to do that. And then this one I got this week, which is really, really exciting because I've literally just finished reading today the second of the Casalet Chronicles, and then this arrived yesterday or the day before. But I was like 50 pages away from the reading. I've only read two books this month, two books this month and we're now on the 21st of September. But yeah, this arrived ready for me to pick up soon, because I've just finished the second in the book. So I can't really tell you much about what may happen. I don't even really want to read you the blurb. I'm not going to read you the blurb because this is the third in a series of 5. So yeah, I'm excited to read this. So the second book ended like in the middle years of World War II. We're following the Casalet family, who are a family of 3 brothers and 1 sister and their families, and like the supporting characters around them, maybe people they're having affairs with, or staff that work at the home where they're living and stuff like that. And yeah, it's just an amazing family saga, epically written. They're all pretty chunky. This is actually the slimmest of the 3 that I've read so far, and I love the way it's written. I mean, in the last book I loved it even more because we got sort of like big chunks from like the teenage girls and the girls who are like entering early womanhood and stuff like that, but otherwise you get sort of like little snippets of people's lives as it's going by, and like you might be hearing about the same event from many perspectives or the same person from different people and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a great series. I'm really having a lovely time, and I'm so thrilled that I've got the third one of this series now, because they've all got these matching spines and they're going to make a lovely picture at the end. But yeah, let's move on to this, to something very similar. Very similar, and I actually mean the same author and the same series, because I bought myself the 5th in the series. So I've still got to get my mitts on the 4th in the series, but this is the 5th in the series, which is called All Change. And I bought this with designs to read it in December, because as you can see from the picture, and also I love this artwork on the front, it's set at Christmas. So this is set like a few decades, and I'm not going to read the blurb because I don't really want to know much myself what happens in the 3rd and 4th book, but this is set, and I found out it was set at Christmas, and I was like, perfect. So the plan is read Confusion in October, read the 4th one, I'm sort of scarily looking at this in case I see anything. The 4th one is called Casting Off. I'll read that in November, and then read All Change in December. So yeah, so I treated myself to that when I was in Waterstones earlier this month. So there we go. Exciting. Really am loving those so much. I just think the front covers are such works of art. I'm really into it. And then the rest, I think, are all from the publishers, which are very exciting. Some of these have sort of come unsolicited as well. So that, when it happens and it's something you're really into, is very exciting. So let's work our way through. So I've got A Sign of Her Own, which is a book that's out next year on the 1st of February. This is by Sarah Marsh, and it is apparently one of the most anticipated debuts of 2024. This is the front cover will look gorgeously. This is the press release, like this, which has sort of got this, I imagine that's probably going to be in like gold foiling. But yeah, so this is about Ellen Lark, who's on the verge of marriage when she and her fiance receive an unexpected visit from Alexander Graham Bell. You know him, with the telephones. While her fiance is eager to make a potentially lucrative acquaintance, Ellen knows what Bell really wants from her. Ellen is deaf, and for a time was Bell's student in a technique called visible speech. As he instructed her in speaking, Bell also confided in her about his dream of producing a device which would transmit a human voice along the wire, the telephone. Now on the cusp of wealth and renown, Bell wants Ellen to speak up in support of his claim to the patent to the telephone whilst being challenged by rivals. But Ellen has a different story to tell, that of how Bell portrayed her and other deaf pupils in a pursuit of ambition and personal gain, to cut Ellen off from a community in which she has come to feel truly at home. This is interesting because literally all I know is that Alexander Graham Bell invented the telephone. It's a story no one around Ellen seems to want to hear, but there may be more important time for her to tell it. It's a fascinating window into a hidden moment in history and a portrait of a young deaf woman's journey to find her place in the world and her own authentic voice. This sounds amazing, doesn't it? The author is deaf, and her family has a history of deafness as well, and it's her first novel. That is very exciting. I will read that next year, I think, because exciting as it is to have a book that's due out like in the future, I always feel like maybe I should read those books the year they come out. So maybe this will get picked up in January. God, I love like historical fiction, particularly about like an event. So the event of the telephone being invented. Yeah, it sounds like it's gonna be great. Very much looking forward to that. And like I said, 1st of February, that's due out next year. Then I got sent the Book Lovers Quiz Book 2, which is More Quizzes for Books Whizzes by Gary Wigglesworth. I didn't even know the Book Lovers Quiz Book 1 existed, but when this arrived, I did the first question, which I actually got right. And I'll read that question to you now in case you didn't watch it. So, which of these little books was published first? The Little Stranger by Sarah Waters, The Little Friend by Donna Tartt, or The Little Paris Bookshop by Nina George? Give you a moment to answer. It's The Little Friend by Donna Tartt. But yeah, there's a whole host of quizzes in here, all about books. Let me read another one to you just to get an idea. Can you name the book this quote comes from? To those whom God has forsaken is given a gas fire in Earl's Court. Is it from Decline and Fall by Evelyn Waugh, Oliver Twist by Charles Dickens, Hangover Square by Patrick Hamilton, or How to Buy a House by Kirsty Allsop and Phil Spencer? To those whom God has forsaken is given a gas fire in Earl's Court. I don't think it's Oliver, I mean, it might be an absolute swerveball, and it's How to Buy a House by Kirsty Allsop and Phil Spencer. Let's find out together. Quiz number 4, question 3. No, Hangover Square by Patrick Hamilton. the author says, I love this book, but if you get the Penguin Modern Classic, don't read J.B. Priestley's foreword first, as he reveals a major plot point. That's something that I have a problem with, forewords. But yeah, this is very exciting. It also has a very exciting Christmas quiz in the back here, which I think I may do as a Christmas quiz in Vlogmas. So there we go. It looks great, and I love a quiz book anyway, so there we go. And then I've got this, which is very exciting, and you'll know that I love books to this nature. So this is a poem to be read aloud every day of the year, and this is edited by Liz Ison, and it's gorgeous. I mean, look at it, the gold foiling on there. It looks very sort of like Oliver Bonus, doesn't it? And you'll know that I love these books. I have a selection of books that I read at the end of my Friday reading vlogs, the autumn, winter, spring and summer collection of poetry, which is edited by Ali Aziri. So to have this as well, which is actual poems which are meant to be read aloud, that's very exciting. And I wonder if maybe going into 2024 I start going into these poems as well. So let's have a look at today's poem. Also, the 21st of September, it's my mum's birthday today, so let's have a look. Okay, it's quite a long one. It's by John Keats, and it's called A Thing of Beauty is a Joy Forever. And this is from Endi Mayon, Book 1. A thing of beauty is a joy forever. Its loveliness increases. It will never pass into nothingness, but it will still keep a bower quiet for us and a sleep, full of dreams and health and quiet breathing. Therefore, on every morrow are we wreathing a flowery band to bind us to the earth, spite of despondence of the inhuman dearth, of noble natures of the gloomy days, of all the unhealthy and o'er-darkened ways. Made for our searching, yes, in spite of all, some shape of beauty moves away from the pool, from our dark spirits. Such the sun, the moon, trees old and young, sprout in such a shady boon. For simple sheep and such are daffodils, with the green world they live in, and clear rills, that for themselves a cooling covert make, gainst the hot season, the mid-forest break, rich with a sprinkle of fair musk rose blooms, and such too is the grandeur of the dooms. We have imagined for the mighty dead, all lovely tales that we have heard or read, an endless fountain of immortal drink, pouring unto us from heaven's brink. There we go. Oh, the next one is simply entitled Autumn. There we go. So yeah, I think these sort of things are lovely gifts, and I know I like books that sort of keep on giving the whole year round, so great. Very heavy and just looks beautiful as well. And from one collection of poetry to another, very, very exciting, this one, it's from my friend and yours, Jen Campbell's Please Do Not Touch This exhibit, published today, the 21st of September. Love Jen, love her poetry, love her short stories, love everything about her, really. So very excited to have this in my hands. Oh, I've just looked, and the opener is a quote from Ali Smith's Winter, which out of the 4 seasonal books, Winter is my favourite. But yeah, there's a whole host of wonderful poems in here called At First the House is Blue, Please Do Not Touch This Exhibit, which is the title, the titular poem, My Brain is a Sleeping Thing. I really do feel like my brain is a sleeping thing at the moment. For some reason, I can't stop writing about lighthouses. I'm excited about that one. Let's have a look and see if it's a shorten, I'll read it aloud. I won't do it. Oh, it's literally the longest one ever. Oh yeah, but that's excited. I turn on the bedside light and the walls slip sideways. Beside, the lamppost outside our window is some kind of wraith. Also, I was sure there was a track by Dustin O'Halloran called Lighthouse, but when I went to check, I realised it's actually called We Move Lightly, which happens to be the opposite of how I feel right now. Apart from wading through something dark and complicated, I have now committed the cardinal sin of mentioning something which you cannot hear, unless you grab a bow and arrow and go and hunt it down. But it is cold and the tide is out, so let me describe the music simply as a barnacled piano. Bloated, light-footed, full of underwater chords. I guess now we have to wait for the linguists to arrive. They'll be thirsty in their wetsuits, carrying their sonar gear, busy calculating the gap between the thing I'm describing and the words I just grasped at. It's so hard to put words to anything. The light of the kettle flickers. There's a boat crawling across the kitchen. Here they come in the green dawn. I stall and offer them a cup of peppermint tea. After all, it's not time to put the big lights on. Not when the forecast is hovering and there's an orb above the rocks. Oh, bloody hell, that's really good. That made sort of, I felt like I could feel like sea salt on my lips and like the wind of the sea rushing through me ears and stuff. Oh, amazing. So there we go. Very, very wonderful poet is Jen. And there we go. Then I've got, which is quite exciting, The Women by Kirstin Hannah. I've read 2 books by Kirstin Hannah before, and Kirstin Hannah, although like she's not normally like a sort of like go-to Lauren author, I guess you wouldn't think, oh yeah, well definitely like I would associate her. What have I read? The Nightingale and The Great Alone are the two books I've read, and Kirsty and Hannah centres women at the middle of her stories, which are normally sort of historical fiction. I think The Great Alone was set in Canada, maybe Alaska, about women, and I've read another one, I think it was The Nightingale, where it's following two sisters whilst the war's going on and what's happening to these women who've been left behind. And that book in particular has a special place in my heart, because it's a book that I recommended to my nan. Now, my nan wasn't a massive reader, but she heard me talk about it on one of my booktube videos back in the day. I mean, she's not been with us for a long time, and she was like, oh, I must get that book because I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed hearing you talk about it. And it was the book she was reading when she died, which I always found so sad. Like, I remember going into her bedroom after she died and seeing the book there with the bookmark halfway through and thinking, oh god, like what a thing. So yeah, whenever I see books by Kirsty and Hannah, or wherever like publishers approach me about them, I always think, oh god, that was the book my nan was reading, that was the author my nan was reading. So this one is the new bestseller. It is out in February next year. So Women Can Be Heroes. When 20-year-old nursing student Frances Frankie McGrath hears these unexpected words, it is a revelation. Raised on California's idyllic Coronado Island and sheltered by her conservative parents, she has always prided herself on doing the right thing, being a good girl. But in 1965, the world is changing and she suddenly imagines a different path from her life. When her brother ships out to serve in Vietnam, she impulsively joins the Army Nurse Corps and follows his path. As green and inexperienced as the young men sent to Vietnam to fight, Frankie is overwhelmed by the chaos and destruction of war, as well as the unexpected trauma of coming home to a changed America. Frankie will also discover the true value of female friendship and the heartbreak that love can cause. The Women is the story of one woman who goes to war, but it shines a light on the story of all women who put themselves in harm's way to help others. So yeah, like I said, women-centred, a lot of friendship and stuff like that. So I look forward to reading that next year as well. And then I've got The 100 Loves of Juliet by Evelyn Skye. I was sent these by the publisher as well. However, this is a finished book, so I imagine it's probably out now. So it says it's a frosty fairy tale of an evening when Helene and Sebastian meet for the first time, except it isn't the first time. You already know that story, though it didn't happen quite as Shakespeare told it. I remember receiving this and thinking, I've watched a Black Mirror episode that's very much like this. To Helene, Sebastian is the flesh and blood hero of the love story she spent her life writing, but Sebastian knows better. Helene is his Juliet and their story has always been the same. He is doomed to find brief happiness with her over and over before she dies and he is left to mourn. Albrecht and Brigitte, Matteo and Amelie, Jack and Rachel, Marius and Cosmina, by any name, no matter where and when in time, the two of them are drawn together and it always ends in tragedy. This time, Helene is determined that things will be different, but can these star-crossed lovers forge a new ending to the greatest love story of all time? So yeah, a retelling of Romeo and Juliet. Sounds interesting, doesn't it? And then I've got, this is also going on the old October, the October TBR, because I think it sounds perfect for October. It's Bluebeard's Castle, which is by Anna Biller. This is out on the 10th of October, and yeah, it sounds great. So listen to this. Listen to this. So it's a modern retelling of the folklore of Bluebeard. Judith is a successful novelist with an overactive imagination. She's from a fine family, even if that family favours her more than her more beautiful sister. She loves a drink or two, but is less sure of her affections for the handsome doctor courting her. A virgin, she yearns for romance and passion. Incidentally, Judith has visions of the saints. When Judith meets Gavin, a handsome and charming baron, at a wedding on the Cornish coast, his love transforms her overnight. After a whirlwind honeymoon in Paris, he whisks her away to a secluded Gothic castle. But soon her perfect marriage begins to fall apart. She finds herself trapped in a nightmare as her husband's mysterious nature and his alternation of charm and violence become increasingly frightening. So yeah, and I think this front cover really looks like a film front cover from maybe the 70s or the 80s. Anna Miller is a filmmaker and is renowned for her sort of feminist point of view. So I think this is going to be great. And like I said, October TBR, here it comes. Then I've got Underground by E.S. Thompson. I really, really like this front cover. It's a sort of little hole here with lots of mushrooms and all sorts of things around with a water pump on top. And this is out on the 5th of October. So it says, a plague is coming to London, dreaded more than the devil himself. Cholera, the Blue Death, spares no one. As fear grows across the city, Jem Flockhart and Will Quatermain are called to the bedside of a dead man murdered and with his throat torn out in the back room of a brothel. When an innocent man is taken to Newgate, Jem and Will have until execution day to save him. The search for the identity of the corpse and the killer takes them to the gates of Blackwater Hall, home to the secretive and corrupt Mortmain family. With the approach of autumn, no one is safe. For the fog brings with it an evil and poisonous sickness, the perfect shroud for murder. This sounds like the perfect, again, another perfect sort of autumnal book. When family secrets are prized out into the open, people begin dying, but who or what is the cause? Searching for answers, Jem and Will were driven underground to the passages and tunnels beneath the city's teeming streets. Here their adversary proves to be even more elusive and more deadly than ever. That sounds bloody great. Oh God, there's so much to be getting on with. Then I've got Sea Change by Gina Chung. This came out in August this year, and it says, the love of her life is in outer space and she's all at sea. Ro is heartbroken. Her long-term boyfriend, has accepted a one-way ticket on a mission to colonise Mars. Her best friend is too busy to notice. Her only consolation is Dolores, the magnificent giant Pacific octopus her father brought to Ro's aquarium before he disappeared 15 years ago. When the aquarium announces that Dolores is to be sold, Ro self-destructs. Can Dolores help her through the storm? Great, isn't it? Love that front cover as well. And then the last one I've got is a Christmas book. It's Mistletoe Malice by Kathleen Farrell. This is what got me going for it. Literary comfort and joy, it got me out of mourning for the Casalets. So it's going to come at a good time because I probably would have just finished reading the Casalets when I can read this. So this is a republication. This was a book that was originally published in 1951. And it's a tale over Christmas, and it's recently been republished. So it said, the fire is on, sherry poured, claws are being sharpened. In a seaside cottage perched on a cliff, one family reunites for Christmas. While snow falls, a widowed matriarch, I struggle with this word, tyrannically rules over her unruly brood. Her spinster niece tends to her whims but dreams of eloping, and as more guests arrive, each bringing their secret truths and dreams, the Christmas tree explodes, a brawl erupts, an escape occurs, and their midwinter madness climaxes. Out of print for 70 years, Mistletoe Malice is a glorious lost gem, a darkly witty portrait of a dysfunctional post-war English family's festivities for fans of Barbara Pym, Stella Gibbons, Nancy Mitford and Elizabeth Taylor. Yeah, it does sound very, very similar to the Casalet Chronicles. So there we go. A whole host. I mean, you've got to admit there's some bloody good uns going on in here, isn't there? So some of these will be relegated to the bath now until my books go back on my shelf, like the Christmas books and things like that. But I'm going to hang on to a few that I think will be great for October reading, and maybe even something that I'll pick up this month as well, because like I said, I can't browse my bookshelves at the moment. So there we go. Let me know if any of these sound interesting to you. Let me know what books you've got your mitts on in the month of September, and I'll see you all again soon for another booktube video. Bye!